Everyone could please stand for the pledge, and Mr. John, would you please lead us?
Surely. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is the Planning and Zoning Board and local planning agency. It's an advisory board which makes recommendations to the county commissioners who will make the final decisions on all these items. Items on today's agenda will be heard by the county commission on March 3rd. Items H1, H5, H7 are LPA items. When a motion ends in any kind of a split vote, a roll call vote may be taken to ensure accuracy. As a reminder, each member who makes a motion or a second needs to turn their microphone on so that your voice is on the record. At this time, if any board member has had any ex parte communication regarding any application, please disclose so now. Okay, I need a motion for the approval of the P&Z minutes from January 10th, 2022.
Second.
Motion by John, a second by Liz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed unanimously. I would like to just take a quick minute and just thank Logan here for joining us. Glad to see you here.
Thank you.
Okay, item H1, please.
Is this on? Yes. H1, Sunil Rajan, Sudhir Rajan, and Suresh Rajan, hope I'm saying that right, request a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation from NC to CC.
Is the applicant here? Is that you, Miss Kim? No, you're fine.
Oh, share. We can share.
Okay.
No, I don't think there's enough.
Pass it down either way.
We still,
Does Minibu have one down there?
Henry, you need one?
I got one here, thank you.
Okay, we've got extra, actually, Kim.
No, we don't.
Oh,
I thought we had to share.
okay.
Kim, can I just interject for a second? Board members, just for your edification, Mr. Rosenka just passed out a proposed site plan. I just wanted to, put it on record that the site plan has not been vetted by staff to make sure that it meets our land development code regulations. It's just for discussion purposes only. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Wadsworth, members of the Planning and Zoning at LPA. My name is Kim Rosenka. I am with Lacey Lyons Rosenka in the Rockledge office. I'm here representing Nick Rahal. It's a contract purchaser for this .92 acre parcel of land located immediately north of Divine Mercy Catholic Church on Courtney Parkway. I've given you two sets of documents because the larger set of documents came from Rick Kern, who is the engineer of record, which has the site plan and the overlay that shows you a better description of where this property is. So you have duplicates, but that's why he just brought them with me. With me today is Nick Rahal and Rick Kern, the engineer of record. That is a concept plan. However, it is the plan that's been submitted to DOT, who's been reviewing it, and we hope to submit for a site plan very shortly with that site plan, which will also go to MIRA for their recommendations. This is, as I said, about a .92 acre. We're seeking a future land use change from neighborhood commercial to community commercial, and the sole reason is to allow a drive-through on this parcel. The document that looks like this, says Dunkin' on the top, which is no longer Dunkin' Donuts, they now go just by Dunkin'. Mr. Rahal is the owner of the Dunkin' Donuts on this site on North Courtney. It's by the Solar Car Wash, the Cozy Corner Cafe. It is 3 different units on a 1.37 acre parcel. If you're familiar with it, I'm sure Ms. Allward is. It is a very confusing site to get in and out of. You've got traffic that backs up into North Courtney Parkway during high traffic hours. So Mr. Rahal wants to move this to a much larger site, make it a contemporary site with a double drive-through. People will move in and out. It's on the east side as opposed to the west side, so it's going to hit all the traffic that's going up to the port in 528. It's a better location for traffic purposes because people will come in and then continue on the same direction. This change is not unusual for this area. There's been quite a few changes from neighborhood commercial to community commercial. Starbucks has been done that whole large acre parcel with the car wash and the assisted living facility that Michael Gaish did many years ago just also changed to community commercial. The only residential is across the street to the west. We've had no comments. There's been no staff comments about this. And I just provided you with the existing location in that property detail. As you can see from the site plan, which we have 2 copies of, it does have an access off of North Courtney Parkway, and it is adjacent to the entrance into Divine Mercy Church. It has been designed for its own separate entrance. Rick Kern has met with FDOT, and their driveway permit is close to being accepted, and Rick can tell you more about that. But again, that's a site plan issue. The preference is obviously to have that entrance there separate to avoid confusion and avoid conflicts with traffic coming in and out on Sunday mornings and other peak times. As you know, the church no longer has a school there, but it has all the buildings for a school. It could open again. They do have religious education. They have group meetings. They have lots of traffic in and out of there. FDOT will require the request to Divine Mercy during its final review, but if you look at the site, it would put the entrance way up to the east, and it would be very confusing for people. Mr. Rahal has talked with a consultant for the diocese who does not think Divine Mercy will agree to it, but that will be required during FDOT. This is a much larger site. It's safer for moving traffic. They're not going to have the backup like it does with the current location. There is a buffer of neighborhood commercial to the east to buffer any residential that could go in there. There's no commercial anywhere near this at the time. There's a strip mall to the north, but still there's a buffer of vacant land. With that, if you have any questions for Mr. Rahal or Mr. Kern, they'd be available to answer questions, or if you have any questions of me. If you don't, we would request approval of the change from neighborhood commercial to community commercial.
Hold on one second, Ms. Kim. Is anyone in the audience would like to speak for or against this item? Well, that's good news.
And also too, Myra actually approved it unanimously, and which was great, and there was no one there to comment about it either.
Okay. Seeing that, I bring it back to the board. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, can we bring Rick up?
Yeah.
Rick Kern.
Rick, Kim's answered most of the questions and concerns, I guess. You've had contact with the church, and the church, in essence, is not interested in any kind of access to their property?
She relayed that we've had some informal contact through a consultant of theirs, yes.
I mean, I guess it just made sense. Somebody from that church is going to go to Dunkin' Donuts, I assure you. I mean, that's the way we do things in Merritt Island. But I just can't imagine they want to get out in North Courtney and then the potential getting splattered going in, but that's right. As long as you all have covered it.
And DOT is, DOT is ready to issue our permit as soon as we get our county site plan approved and contact the church over there, so.
Yeah. The state FDOT did not mention anything about a potential right turn lane there to get into your site?
No, the distance is too short there for it.
That doesn't make good sense. I mean, I'm not.
They don't want traffic coming out of the church which wants to make a
Yeah.
right turn or a left turn, be in conflict with somebody in the right turn lane. If it's a shared right turn lane, there'd be some conflicts there then.
As you know, the Dunkin' Donuts on the west side, there's times when everybody uses up all the storage, and because they're so courteous, they use up the lane too, you know.
I think that's the other
when
issue.
you're going after them donuts, you got to be careful on Merritt Island.
Right. I think DOT does not want to have that
Okay.
situation go on. So.
Those were my questions. Thank you.
Any other questions for? Yes, sir.
Just to address Mr. Menaboo's questions, I do see that there is 2 drive-through lanes, so that should alleviate some of the traffic off Courtney Parkway. Also, I just want to confirm that there's going to be a dry retention pond on the property.
That's correct.
All right, so all the stormwater will go into that dry retention pond?
Yes.
So all the stormwater stays on that property?
Yes.
Also, saw this, there were some wetlands here. You plan to preserve those wetlands that are on the property?
Yes, there's a small amount of impact, but extremely small.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Mr. John.
Thank you. I believe Kim said there was a buffer between that property and the shopping center to the north.
Yes, there's a strip of land that's owned by a much larger tract there in
Yeah, I
the west.
see that. They probably have that, that's an easement or a flag lot, right? So they're going to be, if they
flag
ever
lot.
develop that, they will have a driveway through there.
Yes,
Okay, so the buffer would go away,
yes.
essentially. Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Just real quick.
Ms. Liz.
So the buffer on the north side, because that eventually will be the entranceway into that property in the back if it becomes a subdivision. So what about the east side? Is there going to be a wall? Would that be required in the site plan? Because it's buffering residential? Okay.
Yes. Well, it's actually not residential, it's neighborhood commercial, but
Yeah. And I really, I'm pleased that Merritt Island Redevelopment Agency did anonymous support. I support the change because that part of Courtney Parkway, as Kim, you mentioned, is changing, and the Dunkin' Donuts in its existing location is, like Henry said, a nightmare for anyone trying to go the other way, and I think Henry's right, those church folks will be going to Dunkin' Donuts as well, but, so I support your recommendation.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Seeing that the Merritt Island Redevelopment Agency unanimously approved this, I also recommend approval for item H1.
Second.
We got a motion by Pete, a second by John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously. Sorry we tabled that on you last month. All right. Item H2, please.
Item H2, Robert Griffith requests the change of zoning classification from RRMH1 to TR1. This is 21Z00035, District 1. This item was tabled from the 1/10/22 meeting.
Is the applicant here? Sir, when you come up, if you could just get as close as you could to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Robert Griffith, 3435 Old Dixie Highway, Memphis, Florida.
And a little bit about why you're wanting to change the zoning.
I'd like to split the property in half and build a house on the other half.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this item? All right, seeing that, I bring it back to the board. We have any questions for the applicant?
I have a quick question. Will that lot have its own access?
It will.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? We need a motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
We recommend approval of this.
Okay.
I'll second.
A motion by Ron, a second by Pete. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That passed unanimously.
Thank you, sir.
All right, sir. Item H3.
H3, Scott Minnick requests a change of zoning classification from AU to RR1, 21Z00025, District 1. This item was tabled from the 11/15/21 and the 1/10/22 meetings.
Okay, is the applicant here?
Yay.
Yes, sir. The name and address for the record, please, sir.
Dwayne White, I'm representing Scott Minnick, 3209 Lionel Road, Mims, Florida.
All right, and a little bit of what he's wanting to do there.
It's an acre lot in an area that's got a lot of half-acre lots, and he's wanting to build a residential house there.
One or two?
One.
Okay. Anyone in the audience want to speak for or against this item? Seeing that, I bring it back to the board. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
I'll make a motion to approve. It's consistent with the neighborhood, and so I make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Liz, a second by Brian. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day. Next item, please, sir.
Item H4, Lance C. Boncheck requests a change of zoning classification from GU to AUL, 21Z00046, District 1.
Is the applicant here?
My name is Lance Bonsick. I currently live at 3375 Angelica Street, and that's in Canal Groves, Cocoa.
And a little bit about what you want to do, Mr. Lance.
I'm wanting to ultimately just build a garage. Currently lived the house for 9 years, and we don't have a garage for our vehicles. And as of today, just found out another one of our vehicles has no clear coat on the roof or on the hood. So we're getting pretty costly repairs courtesy of that, and I just want a means of storing my stuff. The building we're wanting to go with is a 30 by 40, just still building.
Okay. Anyone in the audience would like to speak for or against this item? All right, seeing that, I bring it back to the board. We have any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to confirm that you don't plan to do any agriculture, tourism activities on your property.
No.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of this one also, and I appreciate that he's using the low-intensity agricultural zoning. That's very good.
Okay, we have a motion by Ron. A second by Robert. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passed unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Item H5.
So H5 and H6 are companion applications, so I'm going to read them both into the record, but they will need separate votes. H5, Jackson Family Trust and CB Davis Family Trust request a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation from NC to CC. That is 21 PZ 00081, District 1. And item H6, Jackson Family Trust and CB Davis Family Trust request a change of zoning classification from GU to BU1, 21Z 00044, also District 1.
And we know the applicant's here.
Good afternoon again. Chairman Wadsworth, members of the Planning and Zoning Board and the LPA. I am Kim Rosenka with Lacey Lyons Rosenka and Rockledge, here representing Surrey Homes. With me is Christian Swan, who is the president of the company. He's in the back corner. Also Clark Sprinkle, who's the director of land acquisitions, and Scott Nickel with DRMP, the engineer of record. He's filling in for Joe Mayer, but they can answer any questions. There's actually 4 items before you, and I believe it's unusual, but I'm going to have to do them all together for it to make sense. So I still will probably not, well, you're not counting time, but I still probably won't take 15 minutes.
Yeah, actually, I'll wait to read those other 2 in.
Well, I will try to explain it by these diagrams. Oh, you missed one? All right, let's take one back. Sorry.
You get us in trouble.
I try. Actually, I do have an extra one. I was kind of trying to understand this there anyway. So before you is 2 applications, 2 related, is for changing the land use and zoning on a 4-acre parcel, which is a larger portion of 118 parcel. The handout I've given you is the 118 acres. The 4 acres is on State Road 46, closest to I-95 to the east. The second page given to you is the the 118 acres minus the 40 acres to the north. It's not part of the colored diagram of the future land uses, but that little square on the bottom that says not included, that's what these 2 items are about. And then the last page is a concept plan by DRMP. It is not for site plan review. It is just a concept plan. It's not finalized. And it shows the 4 acres on the left side, which is the State Road 46. So that's the 4 acres that we're seeking the change in land use to, to neighborhood, from neighborhood commercial to community commercial. And the reason for is that is not yet decided what's going to be on those 4 acres, but with all of these homes, you may recall you had another one of these on the south side of State Road 46, and this is on the north side of State Road 46. There are a lot of homes coming into this area. So more homes drives more commercial. And so the community commercial will allow a drive-through with the BU1 zoning, which we're requesting. Similar to the Dunkin' Donuts, if you have BU1 in neighborhood commercial, you can't have a drive-through. So there's nothing exactly planned for those 4 acres, but this is becoming more urban and more need for commercial. You have the Love's travel station to the east, and you also have the Chevron and the Dunkin' Donuts further to the east of there. So the request is to change the neighborhood commercial to the community commercial. We'd submitted a justification, and the justification does indeed include the community commercial, the reasons for the community commercial to serve several neighborhoods, sub-regional and regional areas, and provide an array of retail, personal, and professional uses. We also cite to the 2007 MIM Small Area Study that indicates commercial development should take place in this location. With the increase in the Love's Travel, with the increase for Love's Travel Stop, there will be more need for commercial, and with the more houses going in. So that is the reason for this request. Also, there were other reviews of the flu policies as to why this would be appropriate. So with that, I would request the change in comp plan from neighborhood commercial to community commercial, and the companion rezoning I have too much paper, I apologize. From GU to BU1. GU, as you know, is a holding zone and needs 5 acres. So with that, we would request the change. If you have any questions for me or for the applicant regarding the commercial land use change and zoning, they're here to answer any questions.
Kim, you have 4 items here,
I know,
but we're going to go one at a time.
Right,
H5.
I just did the presentation for the commercial
No,
as
no.
requested.
That's good, but I want to be sure everybody up here is on the same page. So item H5, if you look at the handout you just give us,
Right. That's why I said that second page, that little triangle right there, the not included, that's what I was discussing.
okay, so that's item H5.
H5 is for the comprehensive plan, H6 is for GU to BU1.
Right.
So just the commercial aspects of the 4 applications.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just jump in for a second. I'm over here. Kim did submit for your review the concept plan, which is the residential portion. Those are items 7 and 8. So
Correct.
just before you are the 2 commercial applications before you. One to change the land use from NC to CC, and to change the zoning to BU1. The other applications will be read in the record separately from this.
That's item H7 and 8.
Correct.
But
Correct.
the concept plan does have the commercial, the 4 acres, just to show a perspective of
It
where
does.
this is going.
Right.
But it was not a concept plan for the commercial 4 acres.
Oh, I'm sorry. And the other thing is that that's concept plan for the residential has not been vetted to make sure that it meets county code. So during the site plan process and the subdivision, staff will review that in accordance with our regulations.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Kim a question?
Yes, sir.
Kim, it's really easy, but I'm sure it's difficult to get to, but there was no way to align the North Carpenter Road?
I don't know, and I don't
Yeah.
know that Scott Nichols going to know that. I know that there were
I mean,
discussions.
it just makes ultimate sense that Carpenter Road runs all the way south, and
I can't answer that question for you, and Joe Mayer is the one that
Okay.
that drew that. I don't know that Scott would be able to answer that either.
Scott, do you know? I mean, it's easy for me to say, but you got a commercial site there.
Well, North Carpenter Road is further to the, too far to the east.
Yeah.
It doesn't line up with the property at all.
No, I didn't know if,
Yeah, there is another road that there was, but I think it's Wiley, I don't think it lined up either. That's when I was thinking you were talking to the.
yeah.
North Carpenter Road doesn't, that goes straight
Okay.
into Love's travel stop.
I'm sure
That's exactly.
Scott's
Yeah.
group put it together. I mean, it's all right.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for Kim. The analysis says that based on a floor area ratio for traffic analysis, State Road 46 would be about 1,000% increase in traffic. And right now you say you don't have any idea what's going to go in that commercial. My biggest concern with this is that traffic on State Road 46. It's already operating at 66%. The housing is going to add a little bit, and if you use all of the possible commercial capability of that acreage, that would create an unacceptable level of traffic. How do you respond to that?
Well, I know we've had a traffic study requested, but we haven't turned it in yet. I don't think it's finalized yet. But the commercial State Road 46 is not at capacity, and there's still quite a bit of capacity there. That would be a site plan issue when something came in to put a drive-through or office professional or something.
Staff, according to your reports, it's at 66%. Is that correct?
At the time of the report, that is correct. And so we put that in the staff comments just for everyone that reviews these staff comments to know that there potentially could be an issue later on. So we do the highest and best use. So that might not be what the applicant is doing. That's just our best guess and to notify everyone that there may be a problem.
Right. I understand that's kind of a worst-case scenario.
That is a worst-case scenario. So typically,
And so I was wondering if Kim had any kind of a prognosis about what they're going to put on there, about the kind of stores they're going to put on, what it's going to be. They're asking for BU1, which allows drive-through, and that increases the traffic rate right there, just having a drive-through.
it does.
And I'm not sure that they would be creating as much commercial space as what was shown in the worst-case scenario. But even if they created half of that, I mean, if it only creates 500% more, that's just way too much traffic for that road. And there's not going to be any four-laning of that road for years. I mean, this may help it, but.
Well, there's options that the applicant can do. They can wait for available capacity. If there is a capacity issue, they can phase the development to meet the traffic demands, that's what's left on the road, or they can pay their way as far as a proportionate share to provide the added capacity to the road. So there are options, not that they'll need to go through this at all. This is just, something to consider during the site plan review, and the applicant will need to provide a site plan that shows the square footage of the commercial area and a traffic study to show how many trips. At that time, they'll have to do a concurrence review to see if there's enough available trips that are left on the road.
Okay.
And we did go with the BU1 instead of the BU2, and any traffic improvements would have to be reviewed at the time. But it still doesn't put it over capacity as of now without knowing.
You're still going to have a lot of hoops to jump through
Yes, sir.
with site. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this item? Seeing that, I bring it back to the board. Any more questions for Ms. Kim on items H5?
Mr. Chair, I just have a comment that not knowing what the use is going to be for the residents on the south side, the intensity, is it going to be evening hours? Is it going to be well-lit? So it's hard for me to understand what those residents could be. I mean, a lot of times you already have what the project's going to be, so the residents have an idea. And I think with Ron is saying, not knowing the traffic, not knowing the intensity, it concerns me for the residents on the south side. While commercial is good along that corridor, planned commercial, including the residential surrounding it, is important too. So that would just be my comment.
Any other comments or questions for Ms. Rosenka?
Yes, I have one. The triangular parcel in the upper right, pink one.
Yes, sir, that's part of the residential rezone.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's
It's
part of
put
the
the CC
residential.
on there, and that's why.
Right, and we're changing that.
You're going to change that to the resident?
Actually, CC is, that's not part of the commercial. It stays CC, but it's not going to be developed.
Okay.
That's with the other two. That's
All
going to
right,
be in the
So we're just talking
residential.
about the rectangular area to the south.
Yeah, you're talking about this little piece right here. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. So it's just the proposed commercial parcel?
Yeah, that's just this little rectangular
4
part right
acres.
here.
Okay,
that's
thank you.
Going from NC to CC
All right.
with a BU1 zoning, which is consistent with what's to the east of it.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I do have the same concerns as Ron and others on this board regarding the traffic, but I don't see those concerns with this specific item, H5. I do see them on future items that we're going to be reviewing here soon. Being it's just this item here for H5, I would like to make a motion to approve H5 if there are no further comments.
Okay, we have a motion by Pete.
Second.
Who's second? Mr. Bruce Moyer, a second by Bruce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that's for item H5. Okay, now item H6.
Make the motion to approve.
We got a motion by Bruce, a second by Robert. All those in favor for
Mr.
items-
Chairman, you have to open it up for public comment as well.
I skipped that part. Sorry, I'm sorry. Anyone in the audience would like to speak for or against this item? All right, I bring it back. A motion by Bruce, a second by Robert for item H6. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have a nay by Mr. Ron.
Yeah, that traffic situation is just too much. It's too much of an unknown.
Well, they'll see that in sight when they go
Especially
for site
when I look
planning and all.
at the analysis by staff that says it's not going to be a 5 or 10 or 15% increase. It's going to be 1,000% increase. I mean, that's.
Yeah, that's 1,000% increase from a GU land use, which is 1 unit per whatever, 10 acres or something. So yeah, 1,000% of 2 is not as bad as 1,000% of 1,000.
All right. You want to, items H7 and 8?
Yes, H7, Jackson Family Trust and CB Davis Family Trust request a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation from Res 2 to Res 4. This is 21 PZ 00089, District 1. H8, Jackson Family Trust and CB Davis Family Trust request to change a zoning classification from AU, GU, BU1, and BU2 to RU7 with a BDP. That's 21Z 00043, District 1.
Okay, and Ms. Kim, you're here. I'm going to go ahead and ask the audience, does anyone in the audience want to speak for or against this item? You're doing good.
Well, I actually haven't given a presentation on these two items. I tried to avoid it upon the request of Mr. Minibu and the staff. But this is the rest of the story.
Right.
As I mentioned, it's 108, Kim Rosenka with Lacey Lyons Rosenka on behalf of Surrey Homes, the contract purchaser. With me is Christian Swan, the president, Clark Sprinkle, the director of acquisitions, and Scott Nickel with DRMP, the engineer of record. What I have given to you previously is the entire parcel. It's 118 acres. That little triangle to the northwest is mostly wetlands. It has some uplands in the middle. It's never going to be developed. It's either going to put in a conservation easement, put in a conservation track, or it's going to be given to St. John's. They're not sure yet because St. John's actually is requesting money for them to give it to them. So we're not sure exactly what they're going to do with it. But it's the rest of it that's being developed. As you saw from page 2, it currently has a mix of land uses, and it's an awkward piece of property. So what we're requesting is to change the Res 2, which is the green, which is a low of 49 acres, to Res 4. And this is to allow us to cluster, to preserve open spaces, to preserve wetlands. And so it's just 49 acres, which would be Res 4. The neighborhood commercial and the community commercial, that little pink area to the east, will stay the same. You can still build residential. You can actually build at a higher level than what's next to it. But this is just to allow them to spread the density of less than 199 units. Currently, the concept plan has 193 units, but that keeps changing every time they go out and do another study, survey, environmental study, things like that. So we did limit it to 199. I believe the staff report says it could be in excess of 350. with what we're proposing. So it's the Res 2 to Res 4, just under 50 acres, so it's a small-scale comp plan. Again, we provided a justification for that, again, using the MIM small study, the future land use element. And this, again, is to preserve wetlands, preserve open space, allow for clustering. Also, too, moving to the rezoning, we've asked for an RU17, cleaning up the mix of zoning that's on this property over the entire 79 acres. That's not that 4 acres that's not included. So it's 79 plus acres, or excuse me, 73 acres, 73.59 acres, which would go to RU17 with the binding development plan, eliminate to 199 units. That allows for the flexibility to leave lots of open space. If you look at the concept plan, there are very few homes that abut other homes, so it's going to be a nice subdivision from the perspective of the consumer. Also, if you look at the concept plan, to the west is a 75 strip of land owned by St. John's. They use that to get to access to behind this property where they have St. John's land, Eels land, lots of easements for back and forth. And there's also an FPL easement back there at some point. So the land behind them is probably never going to be developed. I don't think it can be. And that 75-foot strip can't be developed either. There's actually a couple of easements that are on this property and benefit St. John's, so that's required some maneuvering of the location of the homes. The wetlands, for the most part, are being preserved. Obviously, we'll meet the 1.8% impacts limitation through the site plan process. So this is to allow maintaining the freshwater pond. It's very high in that area to the north where that freshwater pond is, and they will be using that for all the amenities and keeping as many hardwood trees as they possibly can. Again, this is residential in the area. There's residential to the west. There's residential to the south, existing and proposed. Also, what was proposed and approved to the south of State Road 46 was RU17 as well, to allow for the 50-foot lots, to allow for more flexibility in design. So with that, we would request the change from the Res 2 to the Res 4 with item 7 on the 49 plus acres, and we request the RU17 zoning on the 73.59 acres, which is item 8, with the BDP limiting the units to 199 units. I hope I haven't confused anyone. I said a mouthful.
Yes, sir.
Kim, did you look at that westernmost, I'm going to call it an easement, is that for ingress and egress?
For St. John's,
It is for
Yes.
ingress and egress?
it is.
Could you all use that?
They were not interested. We did talk with them. They weren't interested.
Okay.
Also, too, they
So
had
that
some...
made sense and they didn't want to do it?
No,
Okay.
and they've been using it, and they have accesses to the north through other easements. And also, that provides a very good buffer to the manufacturing community to the west.
Tell St. John's we're going to put a Dunkin' Donuts in there.
There's actually already one at the Chevron station.
Kim, I got to back up here. Anybody in the audience for items H7 or H8 would like to speak for or against these items? Okay, back to you, Kim.
I do want to say, we did have a community meeting on January 27th. We invited neighbors within 500 feet. I think there were over 50 that were invited. 5 showed up. They were excited about the project. They wanted to put bids on the lots already. They liked it. Several of them lived on the other side to the west. So they had no objections, and we've seen no objections to this project. And it was at the MIMS library.
All right, hearing that, I bring it back to the board. Mr. Bruce, you have anything?
No, I think it makes sense. It's pretty good transitional zoning from what's to the west and what's to the east. You know, you've got larger lot residential to the west, you've got a truck stop to the east, so it seems to make sense to me.
Mr. Chairman? I'm in favor of this, but I did have a question of curiosity. On your plan for the layout of the housings, there's a thing called a pond, and then there's also some, in green, dry ponds. How do you create a dry pond in Florida?
That is a Scott Nickel question.
I mean, it seems like an oxymoron.
Bring the real Mr. Mayor up here.
All right. Yes, so in order to meet the stormwater treatment requirements for St. John's, we have to provide pre-treatment of the water before it discharges into the wet retention ponds that are shown. So the green ones that are shown as dry ponds, I get it. The phrasing of it doesn't sound quite right, but I don't know what else to call it. A dry stormwater pond.
Okay.
So
Is that the same thing as a retention pond?
it is.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Basically, it means it'll only be wet for 72 hours after the storm, and it has to be dry after that.
Okay, Mr. Bryan.
Kim, I have a question. Just out of curiosity, why are you self-limiting yourself on the number of units on a BDP when this clearly can support more than that?
Well, actually, this has been designed for the maximum, but not all the engineering is complete, is to prevent two accesses. If you go over 200, then you have to have two access points, and it just didn't work. The flow wasn't correct from what Mr. Mayor had said.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my question, how many accesses, because I couldn't tell.
Yeah,
So-
there's just one access, and it's.
Which it makes for a safer community too, when you don't have multiple.
Yeah, it's right next to the St. John's entrance.
It's called aggravation.
Also, you, water sewer?
Yes.
Did I see that? Okay. And, yeah, I like the cluster subdivision, because it does keep more open space, and so I support the comp plan amendment.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
All right. I was worried too at first with the egress and ingress, just one access point, especially for emergency vehicles and everything. I mean, it looks like a maze back there. But it is applicable by law. So, correct, they're in,
Well, this is a concept plan, so it
Yeah.
hasn't been a site plan yet.
okay.
And there is the potential, if we had to have emergency access, maybe St. John's would allow us to use it. I don't know, just suspect.
Right, emergency vehicles only or something like that?
Right, but
Okay.
we don't know at this point. This is just a concept plan to show you why we've requested the zoning with the 50-foot by 100-foot lots.
Correct.
That is really the only concern of mine I have here. You said you're already hooking up to water and sewer. I know John's probably going to go into the school aspect of it, so I'm not going to bring that up. And that's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I got a question for staff. For larger developments like this.
Mr. Robert, could you get a little closer to your, thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's a question for staff. In your report, very nice report, you mentioned that access to water and sewer. One of the concerns is capacities of the plant. Now, I think North Treatment Plant has 33% capacity on a 0.9 MGD plant for sanitary. Could you include the capacities of the plants and projected, based on 199, what percentage of capacity would be taken up by such a development? I mean, it's a nice development, and it's very well presented.
That's a very good point. Since we're not the authors of that information and it changes daily, I am very reluctant to do that because they might have 30, they might be at or near capacity today. They go and pull permits tomorrow and they don't have any capacity. It is, it's a number that changes, based on applications that come through the door. And so that's the best available information that we can provide to you all of that capacity where it is today. As far as what could happen in the future, it's all a crystal ball.
Right.
Well, just, for general purposes, it's over 50%, less than 30%, greater than, 80%. in the engineering world, 85% is considered critical. So if you're at, 80%, I mean, in the MIMS area, you're fine. There's no problem here, but it just, such a large development or moderate development here could impact wastewater water treatment. And since we're doing that for transportation, it would not be a bad idea to do it for the utilities.
If that's a direction by the board to do that, I can certainly take a look at it and provide you with some feedback at our next meeting.
It's just a recommendation, yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Robert.
Let me ask, Bruce, that capacity analysis is not that easy to come by. I mean, that's not a down and dirty, quick and easy.
No, it sure is not. Because as they said, it
That could draw a
fluctuates.
permit out another 60 days because
Yeah.
that's not a variable in the calcs that you can just throw out.
Yeah, that's why they vet that through the concurrency process.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, this project, I just did a quick calculation, it would take about 4% of the plant's capacity, so, but it's, that would be a hard calculation for, I think, for our purposes, because that's a whole concurrency calculation that gets done that takes staff, hours to do.
Yes, sir, Mr. John.
I'm looking at your BDP, and I was curious, we're showing on the concurrency for school district 93 students. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if you put a little playground on your site for all those students? Because they're nowhere near a school. All the students are going to have to be bused from there to the adjoining schools, whether it's elementary, middle, or high. And I was looking at your site plan, which I know is not formalized. But is there an opportunity to have a playground, maybe near the pool area, wherever that goes, in order to facilitate all the youngsters that are going to be in that area? It's a new development.
Afternoon, Chairman and board members. Clark Sprinkle with Surrey Homes. We do show a pool and clubhouse. We will definitely have something along those lines. The specifics of it, is it going to be a swing set? Is it going to be 3 swings? We just don't know yet, but we will have some sort of activity, especially for children, on the site.
Okay. Second point, I have kids in school, and one of the issues I have is where the school buses pick them up. It's always that they have to track over some wet grass when it rains, and I was wondering if you have looked into making any provisions for hardened stops for school buses?
We have not yet. I would imagine, and quite frankly, I don't know if they're going to pick up the kids on State Road 46 or if they will pull into the community itself. If they will pull into the community itself, we would absolutely provide something for the children and for a bus stop. If we can get them to do that, it's getting the school bus to want to actually turn into the community.
It's a big community. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't do it.
And if we can definitely figure out a spot for that.
I would recommend that you talk with the district and see what they would like to have.
Absolutely, we will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any motions?
A motion to approve item H7.
Okay, item H7, motion by Bruce, a second by Robert. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed unanimously. Item H8, we're going to need a motion on that also.
Do we need to do public hearing first, like we did on the last one? Before we make a motion?
You asked twice for public comment.
Yes, we did.
Right. I had already asked for,
No, well.
you want to hear the presentation from her?
No, I don't. I just want to make sure that I thought that we made the motion, then we had to go back and ask if there was any public comment before we made the
Yeah, I
motion.
did.
Okay, so we're good? Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we approve item H8 with the BDP as submitted.
Okay, a motion by Bruce, a second by John. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that passed unanimously. Thank you, Kim. Good luck on the project.
Thanks. We need more homes.
Item H9, please.
Item H9, John Lewis Freeman requests the removal of a binding development plan in an RU-2-12 zoning classification. Zoning action number 21PZ00090 in District 2.
Is the applicant here? Okay, ma'am, if you could come up and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Pamela McCarty. I live in Merritt Island, Florida, on Bacora Avenue, and I'm authorized to act on behalf of Mr. John Lewis Freeman and Mr. and Mrs. Mike and Melina Stewart for the same purpose of removing them from the binding development plan on their purchased property.
Okay, and a little bit about what's going on there.
Both parties, I'll speak for Mr. Freeman, purchased a lot with the intention of building a residential home from the same party that sold all of it. Initially, the binding development plan called for, I have it here, multifamily, higher density, and randomly, just in the process, everybody had their plans done and tens of thousands of dollars in architecture and engineering, and found out that there was a binding development plan on the property, contacted the seller who tried to assist us, and we went through the motions with the thanks of the department, the building department, and all of you to do the paperwork to get it removed so a single-family home can be built on his lot as designed, connected to utilities, sewer and water. The lot to the north has already been, if you want the reference, I have the zoning action number. So there are 4 lots there on the one parcel, or 4 separate purchases. I'm representing 2, and the one to the north was removed. And we did also receive recommendation that should have come to your office from a neighbor at least that had no objections.
Yes, sir.
When was that binding development plan done?
According to the records here, I believe in the year of May 25th, 2005, is what it says here on the paperwork provided to me by the building department.
Henry, if I can refresh your memory, because I came before this board with the property to the Dagny to the east.
Yeah.
And north, and it was just, somebody had a contract on all 6 parcels, and they came up with a plan that had the BDP, and that all fell apart, so now you've got 6 individual parcels again, and every one of them, in order to build anything, has to come back before this board to get that BDP removed.
Right.
So it's the same thing, and you're probably gonna get another one here coming here soon, too.
We approve that.
Thanks, Bruce. I thought I remembered that one. I was a little surprised that I remembered some of it. That's good.
And also, I'd like to weigh in that Magnolia Bay is very involved in development that goes around that community. The little restaurant a little further up from you had a lot of Magnolia Bay. So having their support is really important, and I think it's a good project.
Thank you.
I really
Thank
do.
you. We
so.
do too, of course.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
You only want to build one parcel on the property, or one unit, I should say?
Mr. Freeman will be building his primary residence, single-family home, yes, 1 unit on that lot.
Are you willing to accept a new BDP saying such that only 1 unit will be built on that property?
I read that was a possibility, and I did not ask him that, but I will go on record to say yes. The plans are in place, the site plans, the plot plans, the surveys, and the way they're all placed on the lot, there would be no room for the second, so I would have to secure his signature, but yes, I do believe that we would be able to do that.
So if I make a motion to approve this and also add the BDP to 1 unit, you'd be okay with that?
1 unit per lot? This is another one of the, I'll be called up
Right.
again for him. 1 unit for
Well,
his lot.
We're just
1 unit
dealing, hold on here before we get all, we're just dealing with item H9.
That's me.
Okay, so if you could, sir, state your name and address for the record.
John Freeman, 2012 Julep Drive. That's Magnolia Bay. I live there right now.
Okay, and back to Mr. Pete.
Yes, John, would you have a problem with, we would remove this BDP and then put a new BDP restricting you to 1 unit on your property? Would you have a problem with that?
1 unit on the property. That's what we're looking for.
Okay. Yeah, so it's kosher, it's good?
Sorry.
It'll be fine?
That would be fine, yes.
Then I'm going to place a motion here for the board to consider that we approve this and then add a new BDP restricting you to only 1 unit on the property,
That's perfect for me.
which is exactly what you want.
That is exactly
And it
what I want.
protects the other people around there, so.
And 1 unit means 1 residential structure. It doesn't mean the garage or anything has to be attached.
I'm going to clarify with you right now, staff.
1 unit, 1 single family is 1 single family.
If he did want to attach a garage or a
Or
shed.
detach a garage, I
Yeah.
We just have to meet our attachment requirements in our code.
Okay, just in case. Thank you, sir. Yes.
It's good?
Agreed.
All right.
And Pete, to clarify, that's item H9, correct?
That is correct. Item H9, make a motion to approve with a BDP to limit the development to 1 unit on the property.
Yes, sir.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Ma'am, are you here to speak for or against this item?
I'm here for, with a question.
Well, if you're for it, we're just voting for putting the 1 structure on the property, so we're...
She's kind of helping me.
Okay, well,
because she just asked a
Pam,
question.
could you let her have
Because I
the
don't know
microphone
anything
there?
about
Yes,
this.
of
Please.
course.
Can you state your name and address then for the record?
Yes, my name is Denise Stanton. I live in Merritt Island at 425 4th Street. How does this affect the future if he were to sell the property in the future, if it's a BDP now?
This would remain the same as we're
Okay.
voting on today, but now this is just, we're just a recommendation. This has got to go before the county commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on item H9 with a BDP for 1 structure by Pete. We need a second. John, did you second? And a second by John. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Aye. And I'll tell you why.
He doesn't want a BDP.
Because everybody else is going to get 2 units, and if she does decide in the future they want 2 units, she has to come back to get it, because she's limiting herself to 1, and the zoning wouldn't allow more than 2 units anyway, so really to have a BDP to limit it to 1, when everybody else that has their property and the other 5 parcels that are left are going to ask for 2, I don't see why she would be restricted to any more than them, but that's just my opinion.
Okay. Well, let's open it back up for discussion.
I wish you never brought that into us earlier.
Well, I tried to get it in discussion, but it went straight to vote, so I didn't have a chance to get in there.
I forgot that
I was hoping
piece.
there'd be some conversation, but that was even some discussion that was made by the commissioner of this district,
Okay.
that was his wishes as well, so.
Pete, is there a reason why you wanted only 1 limit to 1?
I wasn't aware of what Mr. Moya said, that there was no reason besides the staff reports. I mean, either way, 2 units is lower density than 13 units.
Right.
So I have no objection to it.
And really, the resale value, if something were to happen
Can
and the
I
project
just
didn't
interject
start-
for a second? It's 13 units, it was for 6 lots total. This is just, so if you think about an overall puzzle, and then you have individual 6 pieces in here. So the 13 luxury townhomes was for the whole block of here, which included 6 lots. So basically, based on their acreage, they were allowed anywhere between 1 to 2 lot, or single-family residents on there. So by breaking it up, this property would be by land use and zoning with RU12, they would be able to get 2 units. That's just from a land use and zoning perspective. Has nothing, it doesn't, nothing's been site planned to make sure that everything meets setbacks and parking and all, the other requirements from code.
All right, and so may I ask staff why they would wish us to consider a BDP to limit this parcel to one structure?
That's up to you guys to determine whether you want to have a BDP or not. The property based on land use and zoning allows for up to 2 units to the acre. Whether the applicant can fit that on there, that's up to them for them to design that.
If it's okay with this board, then I'm a believer in property rights, so I'm going to withdraw my motion. I'm going to make a new motion to pass it as.
If I could, sir, I think you guys already took a vote on it, so if you want to take a motion for reconsideration and then be second, so considering it was 9-1, you just need the 2 people in the yay to
Make a motion for
reconsider.
reconsideration?
I'll second that.
Have a motion by Liz, a second by Pete for reconsideration of item H9. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right, so I'm going to redo my motion. Item H9, pass as is, no BDP, well, remove the BDP that's existing, and the R212 zoning classification reinstated.
Second?
We got a motion by Pete, a second by Liz. All those in favor, hold that. Want to open it back up for discussion? On the new motion, okay. John?
I just have a question. This particular lot is .19 of an acre, 1/1900ths of an acre. Can you get 2 units on that small site?
And that was my reason for not having hesitation, but I am not the homeowner. This is the homeowner. I'm sorry, I did not know he was there.
I
And
don't
then
either.
tried to get that through permitting would be impossible. So the only reason I could see potentially there is one following this, and to your point, there might be precedent. I mean, there's other people there, one's been removed, and the existing BDP is removed, and the classification zoning is what, RU 212 without a BDP. And so consistent with that, that would be to clarify our request.
So I wouldn't recommend having a BDP on there.
I think that's what we're asking for, the
No,
removal
he
of the
removed
BDP.
No, okay, and we're
No
talking about the
BDP.
new motion. He wants to put 2 units on.
No.
What was his motion?
No, and
I'm
then
sorry.
no BDP.
No BDP?
Correct.
Okay, then that's fine.
I think by the
I agree
nature
with
of the
that.
zoning, if it could be permitted, 2 lots could be permitted.
It's going to be tough to
2
get
units,
that
but
through
not on that.
permitting.
Right.
Okay, no, we had a motion, Liz, was that you? I'm sorry. A motion by Pete, a second by Liz on item H9. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item H9 passed unanimously.
Sorry for any confusion I may have caused.
That's okay.
And Miss Pamela, you might as well stay right there because we're going to need another item H10. Do we have anyone you want to present that again?
I'll need to read it in the record.
Yeah.
Okay, item H10, Michael R. and Melena C. Stewart request a removal of a binding development plan in an RU 212 zoning classification, PZ number 21PZ00091 in District 2.
Pam, your name?
Same thing as just presented. This is another parcel.
We'll need your name and address.
My name is
again.
Pamela McCarty. I live in Merritt Island, Florida, on Bacora Avenue, and I am authorized to act on behalf of Mike and Melina Stewart, the property owners, also here in reference to H.10. And we are requesting the RU 212 zoning to remain with removal of the BDP.
All right, anyone in the audience would like to speak for or against this item? Okay, seeing that, I bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
A motion by Bruce, a second by Pete on item H10. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, yeah. Item H11 is the Government in the Sunshine overview, just dealing with regulations that apply to public meetings. You guys have a handout in your packet, sort of outlines the high-level requirements that apply for the Sunshine Law, deals with transparency, It's issued by the, Florida legislature, and it applies to you guys as an advisory board to the Board of County Commissioners. So, just the high-level items, and then if you guys have any questions throughout or later on, by all means, don't hesitate to reach out. Essentially, the main requirements are that we have to have open meetings, we have to take minutes, and we also have to provide reasonable notice. Then from your guys' perspective, the two most important things are, with respect to sort of the thought process and the decision-making, it has to be done out in the open during these public meetings. 2 or more individuals are not supposed to be talking about any of the items that may come before you or that may foreseeably come before you. You obviously need a physical quorum. Public participation, as we just had, you always have to ask to see if anyone wants to speak on it. And just as a consideration, there are certain penalties, both civil and criminal, that might apply if you guys violate the Sunshine Law. And also with respect to any potential voting conflicts, if you review the agenda and believe that you might have a conflict, or someone you know might have a conflict with respect to sort of your inner circle or associates, then please bring it to our attention, hopefully before the meeting, so that we can give you guys some sort of analysis with respect to that. So as I said, you guys had the information in your packet. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Do we need a vote on that item?
No, sir. That's just an FYI.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, then meeting adjourned.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.